Hey, welcome back. It's Mr. Castillo here. Um, Today we'll be learning something new. Yesterday we worked on dodging and burning. We were able to do understand how gradient maps work, understand how our adjustments work, and how we can keep modifying and without damaging our layers or anything like that. But today we're learning how to create shadows. One of the main problems that I saw with the last project we did on Photoshop compositions was that the shadows weren't accurate, and a lot of the times when we actually see something or a Photoshop image or any image, if the shadows aren't right, your brain automatically tells you that it's Photoshop or that it's something's wrong with the image. Okay, so we have to always make sure that our shadows are proper and that they actually look realistic. Okay, so we're gonna be going over that today. Okay, so before I move on to that, let me just kind of go back on what you see here in the screen. This is my final poster of my final X-Men poster. Okay, so you guys saw how I created um, the one with just me itself. Okay, and I challenge you guys on your own free time to add the second person. Okay, add the second person right here, and I actually added Mr. Carrillo. So that's Mr. Carrillo on the yellow X, and then that's me on the black and white. So I added that second person using. If you look at my layers, I actually used. Let me see here. I used um, the same layer mask that we had already created, and all I did was throw the picture on top. So once you create your layer mask, you can keep reusing it for different things. So all I had to do is import, copy the picture, paste it on this, and I had my effect on. So, but I challenge you guys to do it on your own, okay, on your own free time, and feel free to use one of my photos that I uploaded or Mr. Carrillo's photos, or feel free to borrow the camera and do your own, take your own photos with your combination of your friends. But anyway, let's get started on the creating shadows. Okay, so some of you guys were asking me what's the easiest way to create shadows. Um, the easiest way is the like the easiest way is the one that you know how to use, the one you know how to do. Okay, and there's no right or wrong answer to that question, but I will show you the way I normally do shadows. Okay, and I believe you guys will actually learn this pretty fast. Okay, so I have here a background that I had previously used on a previous assignment. If you guys remember back 3 weeks ago, we were using this image of um, Kelly here. Kelly is a cheerleader for the Dallas Mavericks, a former Laredoan. So she actually um, is. I actually did a photo shoot with her, and if you guys remember, you guys had already learned about layer mask when we did this assignment. So pretty much, I just masked her out completely using the layer mask out of the background. So there's no background. It's a transparent layer, and it's ready for me to start creating shadows. So if I go back here and I start painting white, you can start seeing the background come back. All right, so we don't want that. Um, just a little review on how layer masks work for those that came late in the class or still haven't completely understood it. But anyway, so we have here this layer, and you guys should have already have Kelly here completely masked out of the background. That was a previous assignment that we did. Okay, now what we want to do here, and some of you guys already went ahead and added her to a different background. Okay, y'all can use this background that I have here. It's up on the under eChalk on the resources, or you can actually use a background that you yourself found online or that you went ahead and took the photo of, whatever it is that you were doing. Okay, so I added her to this background, and I kind of resized her to kind of fit the image, All right. Now it still looks, for me, it looks completely fake because the fact that there's no shadows in the photo. Okay, and when there's no shadows in the photo, like I said before, your eye is it's gonna see that. It's gonna actually pick it up instantly, okay? And you're gonna know it's Photoshop, okay? So the idea is for us to create a realistic shadow. That's the goal for today. All right, so step one of creating shadow is understanding what type of shadow we need. Normally, if you do a picture or have a background where the photo is shot in the middle of the day with the sun out, no clouds, you'll usually have a shadow that's has a very hard defined edge versus a cloudy day, or this in this case we have a sunset going on. So the light that's being produced from this image or this background should be very, very soft. So you'll have a very feathered edge of a shadow. Okay, so by knowing that, I already kind of have an idea of how my shadow should look and to where my shadow will be falling onto. Okay, so my light source uh, in this photo seems to be coming from somewhere over here, some imaginary light coming from this side. So knowing that, I know that my shadow needs to fall to the right of her, okay, to the right of her, and I can see that it's going to be a feathered shadow, not a hard edge shadow, because it seems to be a very soft light hitting her, okay? So that's the first step, identifying your shadows, all right? So by knowing that, I'm going to go back here to my layer that says woman, okay, and I'm going to double click on the right here, okay, and when I double click that, I will have my blending options come up, and this is what comes up right there. I'm gonna just zoom in so you can see more of what's going on here. So I have Kelly here, and we're gonna add today we're gonna be using this one called drop shadow. Okay, so you click on that, make sure this is highlighted in blue and this is check marked. Those are the two things you gotta look for. Okay, so the way drop shadows work is it adds a shadow in the background, and I'll turn it off and turn it on a few times so you can see what's going on behind her. Okay, now you can change the distance. Okay, you can change the distance to the actual image. You can change the size, or you can change the spread. The spread we're not going to be working with that today. We're going to be working with distance and size. And the easiest way to do this for me is to literally just grab your mouse, click on the shadow, and then just drag it so you can clearly see it, and the distance will automatically change for you. Now the only reason we're changing the distance is so we can actually completely see the shadow without it being blocked by the layer of Kelly. Okay, now the next thing, like I said, it's not a hard defined edge that we need for this shadow. So if I wanted for example, if I needed a hard edge, I would go from the size. Right now it's at 8 pixels. I would go back to 0 pixels. So you see how it made it even more sharp. It's a very defined edge. I'll probably use this shadow if it was like middle of the day and the sun is hitting really hard right on the background here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the size maybe to about 100 pixels, or maybe even more. So maybe about right there. So right there, I'm getting the actual feathered, really nice feathered edge on our shadow now. So it looks more realistic, and it would give us the perspective that we want. Okay, so that's step one. We make sure that the blend mode's on multiply. Okay, and we'll figure out why later. And all you have to do is press OK. As a reminder, when you're working with Photoshop for your ACA certification exam, you're not allowed to use shortcuts. So everything has to be done through the menu process and the long process. So for the most part, I'll be showing you guys the long process for everything. All right, but it's always a good thing to know all your shortcuts. Okay. All right, so once we got our shadow there, next thing is for us to apply it to where it actually goes to the direction that we want it to go. All right, so we're gonna go here where our layers are, and now we have a thing called effects and drop shadow right beneath it, and we're gonna right click there, and we're gonna go create layer. All right, we create the layer, and now we have a separate layer with just the shadow itself. Okay, and the reason we did that is so we can control the shadow on our own. We can resize it now. We can distort it, change the perspective of it without affecting the layer of Kelly here. So I'm gonna grab this, align it right with the with the feet and make sure it's right behind Kelly here. And then I'm gonna go to edit and free transform. Okay, the trick here is pressing command on your keyboard or control on your keyboard if you're on a PC. So you'll be pressing control and you'll notice this change into the white cursor, the white pointer. All right, and then you're gonna bring it down to the angle that you need it. And you're gonna see the feet or misaligned, and we'll have to just realign it, bring it up back again. Okay, so when you go to the corner, you make sure you press command or control on your keyboard if you're on a PC, and you can change the perspective fairly easily. I kind of want to go in this way, something like that. So the light's coming this way, shadows right there. And use my arrow keys here. I'm using my arrow keys to just perfectly align it right about there. And last thing to do is press check mark on your keyboard. I mean check mark on here. So there we go. Now if I look at these shadows around this photo, there's really not that many shadows, but usually shadows around your photos can help you guide of how much opacity or how transparent this shadow needs to be. I don't have any here, so I'm kind of benefited out of that. So right there, it would just already look realistic. So this is the before, and this is the after. You can tell a big difference. Now I actually want this layer here to be a little bit less visible, so I'm going to lower the opacity slightly right there, and we're pretty much done. That's it for creating shadows on subject. Now one of the most important things is to understand where your light's coming from and visualize yourself, like if you were in that scenario, where will the shadows be going. So if there's multiple light sources, there will be multiple shadows going different places. Okay, so that's it guys, how to create shadows. If you have any questions, come up to me.